Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yum. It's like a dream.
That's right, folks. It's like a dream. Very much appreciate you guys tuning in on this fine Taco Tuesday. For those of you who wonder, I know some folks are always like, well, why do you have all of the announcements and all of the advertisements and all of the shout outs and all of that at the beginning of the show or all the banter? Well, here's the reason why. So we're a live program. We're live Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And what happens is people get the alerts. They get them on their phones. They get them on their computers. They get them however they get them. And it usually takes them about a minute or two, sometimes even as many as 3 minutes to go ahead and get logged in, to go ahead and pull everything up in order to be able to watch the show. So, studies have shown the best thing that you got to do is you want to give them a time to tune in. So while they're doing that, we figure we'll entertain those of you who tuned in from the very beginning, but also we'll do the things that we got to do, like pay our bills, like I don't know, give a shout out to our sponsors. That's right, because they are the ones who, in fact, pay the bills. And we're going to start, by the way, with Hitman Industries. If you are looking to either rebarrel your current AR platform rifle, or maybe you're just looking to do a whole brand new build, the place to start is going to be Hitman Industries. You can find them at hitmanindustries.net. The best in rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you on the market. All you got to do is go there, check them out, and if you like what you see, make sure you buy from them. And if you are a first responder and you've never purchased from them before, you're going to get a discount. So check them out today, hitmanindustries.net. Then you've got the California Republican Assembly, working to help elect conservatives in the great state of California at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. Go to cragop.org. That's cragop.org. Check them out today. In fact, if you want to be a part of California's future today, got to join CRA. And then we've got the absolute best in concealed carry tactical holsters. You'll find them at hogholsters.com. That's hog, HAWG, holsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. They've got inside the waistband, outside the waistband. They've got a build for just about any sort of firearm that you have, no matter what kind of optic you may have, no matter what kind of light you may have on there. Trust me, they can hook you up. Just go to hogholsters.com. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there, and you're going to get a discount on us. Check them out today, once again, hogholsters.com. And then we've got uscombatgear.com, the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. Competitive prices, huge selection, fast shipping. Once again, veteran-owned and operated, uscombatgear.com. Well, we know that the 4 years of the Trump administration were barraged with accusations of collusions, of foreign collusion, colluding with the Russians in order to, number one, steal the election, but then somehow so that Putin could be held at bay and not be basically the only, basically during Trump, the only time during, I don't know what, the last 20 years, 15 years or so, 16 years, there you go, during the last 16 years when Russia wasn't attacking Ukraine. But anyway, so somehow they believe that Joe Biden, that Donald Trump had colluded with the whatchamacallit, what's his snot? Had colluded with the what am I looking for? It colluded with the Russians. Well, now it appears to be some sort of collusion of another kind, but it's not the same guy. It's not Donald Trump. In fact, accusations now that are being floated, and this is over in the Washington Free Beacon, are that, someone may be colluding, and that someone is, That would be Joseph R. Biden and the Biden administration. So it says here, it sure looks like the administration is colluding with Iran. Lawmaker calls for probe into State Department following Robert Malley revelations. It says here, the Biden-Harris administration intentionally sought to cover up the suspension of embattled Iran envoy Robert Malley, according to Representative Jim Banks, who is calling for further scrutiny into the State Department after an explosive Inspector General report found that the agency grossly mishandled the affair. In a Monday letter, Banks, a House Armed Services Committee member, instructed the State Department to explain how Malley was permitted to continue accessing classified information after his security clearance was pulled in 2023. Malley was placed on indefinite leave from his post when it became clear the FBI was investigating him for keeping classified information in his personal email account. Banks said the move allowed that information to be compromised by a foreign actor. Quote, many of Malley's colleagues were not aware of the suspension, and many have continued to share classified information with him. Banks wrote to Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, quote, Malley's deputy was instructed not to tell anyone about the suspension, but was given no guidance on when to include or exclude Malley from sensitive matters. Banks' letter follows a bombshell Inspector General report released last week that details how the State Department breached multiple federal protocols after a suspended Malley, including by keeping the revocation of his security clearance a secret from senior staff and Malley himself. This allowed Malley to participate in a secure telephone call with the White House after his clearance was yanked. Malley continued to handle sensitive information well after he should have been cut off, the report found. Now, I just want you to imagine real quick, if this was Donald Trump, if this was happening during the Trump administration, if this was any of his secretaries of state, or any of his anybody working in his office, anybody working in his Department of Justice, I want you to think about how this would be received. Now, mind you, this is also, by the way, the same Iranian government that actually hacked into Donald Trump's campaign and sent the information to the Biden. I mean, not to Harris. I don't know if they sent it to the Harris Biden or to the Biden Walsh campaign. I need to take a look at that. But the point is, they sent it to the Democrats. Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think the Iranians want the Democrats to win? Well, I can tell you. And it's really kind of simple. And a lot of it has to do with money. It has to do with the fact that when Donald Trump was president, he made it a point to make sure that Iran had as little money on hand as possible to fund terrorism and to fund terrorist states. Barack Obama got a lot of them access to hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, money they should have never ever had access to. He gave them access to it if they agreed to stop developing nuclear weapons. We pretty much know that they've never stopped developing nuclear weapons, but that's a whole other story. But basically gave them access to billions of dollars that they then used to help fund things like, I don't know, the attack on Israel, the Houthis who are attacking shipping lanes there in the Red Sea. The rockets that are flying from Lebanon into Israel. You name it, all of this money. And keep in mind, every single one of the groups that I just mentioned to you, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, they are all basically affiliated organizations of Iran. In other words, Iran is a state sponsor of terrorism, and they can only do that if they have money. Now, Barack Obama gave him access to money. Donald Trump didn't. Guess who then turned around and gave them access to money? You guessed it. That would be Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They lifted a bunch of the sanctions that kept hundreds of millions of dollars billions of dollars in business and oil business from going to Iran. They weren't able to sell their oil. They couldn't get rid of it, right? They allowed them access to money that they had in U.S. banks. And what do you think that money was used for? You guessed it. It was to sponsor terrorism. And once again, I'm not saying like Donald Trump said. I'm not saying that Iran had no money to fund terrorism. But I know they had a lot less money under Donald Trump than they did under Barack Obama or than they did under Joe Biden. So yeah, they want them to work. And then, the funny part is that you've got Democrats with this belief that, if I'm nice to these terrorists, these people that hate the West, right? These people who believe that we are the infidels and that we must convert or die. Yeah, they believe that if they're nice to them, they will, they're like the alligator. Like the alligator will eat them last, right? The problem is this: even if that's the case, guess what? You're still going to get eaten, and you're only going to be around as long as you are useful to them. But they don't care about that. That's kind of their thing. They kind of their thing is, as long as they outlive conservatives, they outlast conservatives, then they feel okay, because then they feel like they will be vindicated. Right? They won't have to worry as long as they outlast us, because, well, no one's going to be around to say, I told you so. Well, when things change, trust me, there will be plenty of conservatives around to say, I told you so. And I'm saying, by the way, I'm saying I told you so right now. Anyway, so yeah, so they are very much, I hate to say this, but when you then at the same time, first of all, why does this guy still have a job? He should not still have a job. But even then, you revoke his security clearance, and then you proceed to tell no one that you've taken away a security clearance. So he still receives classified documentation and information. I'm not getting it. I am really not getting it. I'm hoping that we get a chance to see more what comes out of this information that Mr. Banks is looking for. All right, that's going to bring us to our next story. You might recall yesterday we were talking about a story that seemed like it was somewhat familiar, but then again seemed like it wasn't. And the story was basically about crime. And it was about the fact that supposedly crime is going down. But there's a problem. See, the information, or the FBI data and information that they received, or that we were talking about, well, that was from 2022 versus 2020 or 2023. When you take a look at the data from 2019, we're talking about the last full year that Donald Trump, or actually the last full year as president was 2020. But when you look at from 2020 forward, the numbers are significantly different. And here is the number. Here's a report, once again, coming to you from Breitbart. It says here, report of urban violent crime spikes 40% under Biden-Harris. It says here, violent crime in urban America soared 40% from 2019 to 2023 under Biden-Harris administration, according to the latest National Crime Victimization Survey run by the Bureau of Justice Statistics and administered by the Census Bureau. The finding contradicts an establishment media narrative that crime fell under the Biden-Harris administration. For example, ABC's David Muir made the claim that when he tried to fact-check former President Donald Trump during the presidential debate. The data published in September 2024 is based on official estimates of non-fatal criminal victimizations reported and not reported to police from BJS's NCVS. The report describes the characteristics of crimes and victims via 230,000 U.S. residents who are asked if they have been the victims of crimes. The survey is the 51st in the series, dating back to the Nixon administration. Quote, excluding simple assault, the type of violent crime least likely to be charged is a felony. as a felony. The violent crime rate in 2023 was 19% higher than in 2019, the last year before the defund the police movement swept the country. Jeffrey A. Anderson, the director of the Bureau of Justice Statistics, from 2017 to 2021 reported, and the data of the data in Wall Street. Now, you might remember the defund of the police movement, where folks wanted to basically see they wanted to see money taken away from law enforcement and put into other things. Well, a number of cities did this. A bunch of cities did this. A bunch of major metropolitan cities did this, and they did so to disastrous results. In fact, that's likely the reason why crime went up. Now, for those of you who are wondering, did Donald Trump support the defund the police movement? No, but there is someone who is running for president who did support the movement.
Interview that the vice president, who was then a senator, did in 2020, and this was during everything going on around George Floyd and the protests there, where she talked about the defund the police movement. And what she said is that the movement was about rightly saying, look at budgets and priorities. And I want to play a little bit more of what she said.
Part of what we have to do here is also look at the militarization of police departments and the kind of money that is going to that. And we need to demilitarize police departments. It is outdated and is actually wrong and backward to think that more police officers will create more safety.
So this is the type of thing that Republicans are highlighting already this week, calling her a San Francisco liberal. How do you think she needs to respond to this?
I think two important ways. One, to point out that it's the Biden-Harris administration that has dramatically increased funding to support local police. But during that period of time where that interview took place, there are lots of the same kinds of conversations taking place around the country, including in my district. And here's what the discussion was. We can't ask the police alone to deal with this issue of crime and violence. Even police leadership will say the whole community has to be involved.
So that's kind of that's the mantra that they use, right? That's kind of the, what's the word I'm looking for? They're trying to say, well, no, we just want funding to go other places. But their point is you want to take it from police, and you notice he doesn't address that right there. He doesn't address the fact that the goal here is to take the funding from police and give it to law enforcement. Or no, sorry, give it to someone else, right? Give it to community-based programs. Give it to guaranteed minimum income programs, other things. Now, and like I said, many cities did this. Baltimore did it. Oakland did it. Los Angeles did it. San Francisco did it. Sacramento did it. A number of places did it, and they saw. I think I'm pretty sure New York, Philadelphia, and they saw Atlanta. They saw crime go through the roof, because it was also done with a number of other initiatives like ending bail. That's right, no more cash bail. And it would be one thing if you said, okay, we're going to end cash bail, and then if you are deemed to be a threat, we're going to make sure that you're not released, right? You don't get out free with the citation saying come back at a certain time. But they were letting violent people who were assaulting officers, people who were raping people, people who were robbing people, were being released without bail. I mean, I get it, okay, if you're not going to have bail, but then they should stay in jail, right? I mean, that would make sense. If you know someone's going to be violent, if you know someone's a danger to other people, they should stay in jail. But that's not what happened. And so the message to criminals, in particular in places like California where they decriminalized many crimes, when I say decriminalized, they did. They took things that were felonies and they turned them into misdemeanors. They took things that were serious misdemeanors, they turned them into infractions. They took people who committed many of these crimes and they let them back out on the streets. And when they committed crimes again, they either did not arrest them or they arrested them and then just released them. And they told the criminals, now, that's bad. Don't do that again. And the criminals are like, is that it? That's all you're going to do? And so they started doing it. They started committing crimes again. And the crimes have gotten worse and worse and worse. And, now people are noticing. I'll put it to you this way. If you don't think crimes are worse, if you don't think crime is up significantly, let me do this. Let me ask you this. I want you to go into your local pharmacy. Go into your local drugstore. Go into your local grocery store. Count the number of items that are locked behind glass that were not locked behind glass before 2020. I dare you. I double dare you. And I know you're going to see. The other day, I went into a CVS, and I swear there was nothing in the entire store. Everything in the entire store was locked behind some sort of a glass cabinet or even in the refrigerator. Everything was locked up. That wasn't the case 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Let's see. What's happened since then? Oh, right. Defund the police. Now you have people, even in urban communities, even like San Francisco, who are now saying, look, they're now flipping it around. They're saying we need to refund the police. They took the pro-criminal district attorney, Jessup Bodine, and they fired his butt. And they put in place a district attorney who, she's probably not as hard on crime as I would like to see, but you know what? She definitely is like, look, people need to be getting arrested for committing crimes. We need to increase penalties for fentanyl. People are actually getting arrested and they're getting prosecuted. People are getting sick and tired of it, even people on the left. If you want to know why the poll numbers are so good for Donald Trump, it's because on the issues that matter, and we'll talk a little bit about it, we've talked about this before, on the issues that matter, like law and order, call him a convicted felon all you want. But people have more faith, voters have more faith in the fact that Donald Trump will deal with crime and punishment than will Kamala Harris. Because they know who she is. They know she's all talk. They know she's all bluster. They know that she's lying. How do they know? Because all you have to do is go by her past record. For example, let's talk a little bit about fentanyl, right? Fentanyl, like 250,000 people are dying a year from fentanyl overdoses or poisonings. It's a combination of the two. And I say the two because I say some poisoning, some overdoses, because some people are actually, they're taking drugs that they know have fentanyl in them, right? But a lot of people, they may be taking something, they think they're taking Oxy, they think they're taking Molly, they think they are taking some other kind of either over-the-counter drug that they got from a friend, bad idea, or they think they're taking some sort of recreational drug that's not fentanyl that they got from a friend, but they happen to be laced with fentanyl. Those are poisonings, all right? Those are not overdoses. Those are poisonings. That someone killed them by lying to them about what was in what they were taking. And I'll just give you an example. It's kind of like this. If you're drinking the whiskey and someone puts a fatal dose of fentanyl in it, that's not a fentanyl overdose. You were drinking one thing and you were given another. So anyway, but Biden administration, Joe Biden went out and talked about how, now I will have to say this. He did not necessarily say, well, I didn't do enough. He just said, we haven't done enough to address fentanyl. Well, doesn't quite go off like that, because guess what? You're the one that's been in charge. It says here, this is over at the New York Post, Biden says for years too little has been done on fentanyl after more than 250,000 Americans die on his watch. President Biden told a gathering of world leaders in New York Tuesday that for years too little has been done to protect Americans from fentanyl overdoses, after more than 250,000 Americans died from consuming the potent and largely China-sourced synthetic opioid since he took office. The retiring president cast himself as a leader on the issue noting death rates were rising before he took office and pointing to modest recent declines of about 10%, without mentioning that deaths have been nearly doubled on his watch compared to former President Donald Trump's 4-year term. Quote, "For years, too little has been done to beat this threat here at home and around the world. In fact, before I came in office, overdose deaths in our country were increasing by more than 30% year over year," Biden 81 said at the symposium at the Intercontinental Barclay Hotel, which also featured the leaders of Italy, Dominican Republic, and Belgium. Here it says, in the first 3 years of the Biden administration, more than 223,000 residents died of fentanyl and related compounds, according to the Center for Disease Control estimates. If the 10% decline cited by Biden holds during the final year in office, he will retire on January 20th with about 290,000 Americans dead from fentanyl over 4 years. That's roughly 267,000 would have already perished. Under Trump, who is seeking to retake the White House, more than 159,000 Americans are believed to have died, meaning Biden is on track for 82.4% increase in deaths over the 4-year term of fentanyl is increasing, cut into non-opioid drugs such as cocaine. So in other words, if it holds, it'll be like almost a 90% increase in deaths under his watch versus under Donald Trump's watch. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, it was going up under Donald Trump. And it was going up because we were still trying to figure out exactly what was going on. And so it's something that and by the way, a lot of this is stuff that's got to be fought at the local level. But by the time we knew that a lot of this stuff was coming over the southern border, we then saw an explosion in illegal immigration from across the southern border. We then all of a sudden saw that a lot of the people who were tasked with actually trying to stop this stuff at our southern border were instead spending time playing travel agent, all right, playing concierge to those who entered our country illegally as a part of Biden's amnesty program. They were busy getting people on buses and then filling out paperwork so that these folks who illegally entered our country could just be ushered in with a court date to be determined later, instead of actually going after the criminals who are bringing this fentanyl across our southern border. So yes, Mr. Biden, you do bear a huge amount of the responsibility. And yes, you are 100% correct. You have not done much because you've only made it easier for them. That's all you've done, is made it easier for them. Anyway, the California legislature has done it again. Just when you think that the people in California, that the people right here in my great state of California, or as one of my favorite talk show hosts refers to them here in Cal Unicornia, just when you think they can't get any wackier, they do. And this is what it is. This is being reported by Cal Matters. I need you to understand that at Cal Matters, there's like one conservative columnist, and I don't think any conservative reporters. So these are all largely left-wing leftists who are writing this stuff. But anyway, it says here, California is pushing happiness, but people are worried. What do you mean they are pushing happiness? Well, I'm glad you asked. It says here, in the latest survey by the Public Policy Institute of California, most California adults, 55%, said the state is headed in the wrong direction and that they can't trust state government to do anything, to do the right thing. Quote, let me say that again. That they're getting the wrong, and that they can trust the California state government to do the right thing, quote, only some of the time. A solid majority also expect, quote, bad financial times for the country within the next year. These worries aren't going unnoticed by the legislature. In particular, former Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon of Lakewood His pet project, leading a select committee on happiness, recently issued its final report. Rendon, in the report, quote, "In our 175-year history as a state, the California State Assembly has not considered how California can improve the happiness of its people. Happiness is seen as a byproduct of the work we do to build housing, improve education, to boost wages, among other things. But it all leads to happiness." The committee, which met 3 times since March, concluded that unhappiness is growing across the state. Key findings: 7 of the top 10 happiest counties are on the coast and have higher than average median income levels. Meanwhile, 9 of the 10 unhappiest counties are inland. People living in poverty are 3 times more likely to experience anxiety and depression than wealthier people. Strong social connection with family, friends, and community are vital to overall happiness. The committee had some suggestions for legislators. They should consider happiness when developing policies and should openly discuss question a bill's potential on happiness. They should think creatively when developing happiness-related policies and collaborate across different agencies. And they should prioritize efforts to boost trust between the public and state government. Am I the only one who thinks that this is wackadoo? Am I the only person here who is like, yeah, this makes absolutely no sense? Why are we doing this? This makes no sense. I really don't understand this. First of all, I understand that the government, all these things that they say the government does, they don't do. The government does not improve the quality of education. They've, in fact, almost never, at least the state government, the federal government, has never done it. In fact, funny, the Federal Department of Education has gotten worse every year that the Federal Department of Education has been in existence. One of the reasons why, if you want to know why people on the inland tend to be less happy or tend to be more negative about the direction that the state is going, is because the policies that are being promoted are largely contrary to those of what they believe. In other words, they feel like they have no say in their government. And if 55% of the people believe that the state is headed in the wrong direction, maybe you should listen. Maybe you should listen. But see, what they've done is they've drawn legislative districts such that, once again, if we have a state that is now just overwhelmingly governed by more than 2/3 of our elected representatives at the statewide level are Democrats. More than 2/3, even though they don't make up 2/3 of our electorate. Not even close. In fact, I believe they're under 50%. Decline to state makes up about 25%. Republican Party makes up about 25%. And then there's all the others make up about 5 to 6%. But Democrats are elected in overwhelming, and that, by the way, part of that is how they've drawn the districts. They've drawn the districts in order to protect themselves. But here's the thing, folks. Happiness does not come from government. In fact, if you rely on the government to make you happy, guess what you can also rely on them for? You guessed it. You can rely on them to make you unhappy. When they start doing things that you know are bad and are wrong, that are taking the state into a wrong direction, it will start to bother you. And by the way, it will also cause you to start to leave the state, as we have seen over 1 million people leave the state of California. If you want people to be happy, how about you stop doing the stuff you're doing? If you want people to be happy, California legislature, stop going the wrong direction. Start going the right direction. And once again, you can blame Republicans all you want, but Republicans haven't run anything in California in forever. I think Dumajian was the last real Republican governor. And don't say Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he governed like a Democrat. Yes, he did. He governed like a Democrat. Anyway, probably from that socialist Austria. Anyway. Oh, hey, we got Patrick in the line on the line. The gun foodie says here, We need fear. We need to bring fear back to our justice system. Yes, you're 100% correct. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit ago. Definitely need to bring fear back to the justice system. I'm gonna tell you what. There's a reason why in a lot of the countries, the ones where they chop your hand off if you steal. I'm not advocating for that, but there's a message there. They chop off their hand, and people stop stealing. That's a sign. That's telling you something. You know what that's telling you? People don't want to get their hands chopped off. And they'd rather have their hand than whatever it was they were going to steal with that hand. Consequences matter. And we have a generation of people who don't believe that consequences matter, that choices have consequences. They believe because the Democrat philosophy, because the left philosophy is, you know what, I can imagine what can be, unburdened by what has been. Meaning I don't have to be responsible for my past decisions. Well, guess what? You never learn anything that way. Once again, I'll just, by the way, if you guys get a chance, check out Armstrong and Getty. They are a great talk show on Monday through Friday. I'll just say 6 a.m. Pacific through 10 a.m. Pacific. Y'all figure out what that is on the East, but phenomenal show. But Armstrong and Getty, they're great. But they love to say that stupid should hurt. Do you know why stupid should hurt? Stupid should hurt because then you learn not to be stupid. You learn, oh, that was stupid. I'm not going to do that again. That's how our kids learn. Kid sees a hot stove, touches it, burns himself. Guess what he learned? Don't touch the hot stove. That was stupid. Go figure. Anyway. All right, let's get on to our next segment, which is Parting Shots. Parting Shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. All right, our first couple here are going to be brought to you by, the first one we're going to do a video here. This is Kamala Harris, and this is her telling you that she really knows and understands how to deal with the border.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border.
See, doesn't really know how to deal with the border, does she? Nope. Exactly good at that. Not exactly good at that. Doesn't really know how to deal with crime either. Just let him in and let him, cross the street, whatever. Anyway, moving right along, our next two are going to be brought to you by, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do another video here for you. This is one that I saw. This is from Freedom Tunes. You'll get this one. You'll love this one.
Meet your new Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris.
Why would you nominate her? Wasn't she the border czar over all of this?
She was never the border czar.
Don't you have all these articles saying she was in this document from Congress.gov?
No. You are forgetting that she was the border czar.
Oh, fine. Okay. Well, what about this bail fund for rioters in 2020 that she promoted?
She never donated to a BLM bail fund.
Ow. I literally have her tweet promoting the exact bail fund right here.
No, you do not.
She said we have to defund the police.
No, she didn't.
What? It was like her whole platform.
No, it wasn't.
You're denying things we all saw. There are records.
No, there aren't.
She was ranked the single most liberal senator in the country.
No, she was not.
You can't gaslight voters into...
Kamala Harris is conservative.
What?
She was ranked the most conservative senator.
How can you erase her entire history?
I can imagine what will be unburdened by what.
Yeah, you guys got to check that out over at Freedom Tunes. It is hilarious. But that's pretty much what they're doing. And, that's the Democratic Party telling you what it is. And they should have put the media on there, too, because the media is going right there along with them. Allowing them to get away with it. Definitely allowing them to get away with it. And the other thing they're doing? The other thing that they're doing is they're acting like they have not been president, like she's not a part of the existing administration. A great example of that comes to us from the Babylon Bee fake news that you can count on. This is Tim Walz, and he's speaking, and he says, quote, "We can't afford another 4 years of this," shouts running mate of candidate who has been leading the country for 4 years. Now, I want to just lay something out to you. I know this is I know this is fun. This is supposed to be making fun. Dude actually said that. He actually said it. That's what's so funny about that headline. There is absolutely nothing fake about that headline. Nothing. Yes, Babylon Bee, fake news you can count on. You can't count on that particular story headline to be fake news. Because it's true. He actually said it. But what they're trying to convince you of, and part of it is they've actually convinced themselves, is that they haven't been in charge the last 4 years. That she is the candidate of change. But all the polling data says different. Anyway, folks, okay, that's it. So now we're done with our parting shots. But before we go, we're going to give one last shout out to our sponsors. First, we got Hitman Industries. Find them at hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you today. We've got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. And then go online and get your holster at hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your hog holster today. And then finally, you can find all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. And that's going to be it for today. We will be back tomorrow. Michael will be back with us tomorrow as we enjoy Hump Day, our attempt to begin the weekend. In any case, y'all have fun, stay safe, and if you get a chance, make sure you send a few downrange. We will holler at you tomorrow. Y'all take care.